Hello and welcome to this Programming for the Web series. This is part 22, which is an introduction into configuring the programming environment on your system. Now, all the software that we're going to use on the system can be installed on Windows, on a Mac, and on Linux. So it's for all the different systems. So that's the first part. Two, I'm going to use, where possible, free software. I will discuss software which you have to pay for or that type of thing, but the idea behind this is to be able to do all of this using free software where possible. Okay, so what about configuring the programming environment? Well, first of all, what do you need to install? This is a bit like asking how long is a piece of string, because there's no one answer. It very much depends on what it is you want to do, whether you're working for a company, whether you're working for yourself, which technologies you want to use, and so consequently there's no one answer, but there are certain core items which you can install which will help you. As I say, this is designed literally for programming for the web, so it doesn't really include things like programming for standalone systems using C or other programming languages like that. Okay, so one of the big problems with the internet and with programmers is that if you get 20 programmers in a room and you ask them what to install, you're going to get 20 different answers, and the debate is going to get exceptionally heated, and even fights could break out, because everybody believes that their system or their way of doing things is the correct way of doing things and there isn't another way. Unfortunately, I don't quite agree with that, because I believe that it very much depends on you and what you're actually programming for, what it is, what your goals are in programming. So for me, we don't really want to bow to peer pressure and say you've got to install this and you've got to install that and you have to learn Node.js and you have to learn Python, you have to do this. To me, you should study and know the very core technologies very well. Okay, once you know those core items, then if you want to go and learn something else, fine. If you have to do some work using, for example, a different programming system than the one you use, well, okay, because you know the core, it's not going to take you very long to learn that system. Okay, so there are certain core items which are very good to learn, and you shouldn't really bow to peer pressure to install something that or learn something that isn't really necessary for what it is you want to do. So my advice is you do it your way. Okay, do your research, find out what it is you need, find out why you need it, find out why you don't need something. Okay, and then that's what you install, that's how you set it up. And it's the same with your programming environment. You'll find that some programmers prefer something like a black background here, like this, with white writing. Others will prefer blue, others will prefer different colors. And they'll all argue that theirs is the best. Do it the best way for you. Okay, software. One of the first things you should install is Git. Now, Git is a version control system and a team system for software. It installs on your computer, and you can set up Git, initialize Git for each project that you do. It allows you to keep version control strictly under control. So you can actually create a version 1, version 2, you can create subversions, you can create fixes, this type of thing, without actually changing the main version until you know that the versions that you're working on are actually stable, and then you can integrate them and merge them into the main version. Now, Git itself is just software on your computer. It's nowhere else. But what Git also allows you to do is to store copies on the cloud. Okay, and there are a number of different providers for this. GitHub is probably the best known, but there are others, and we will look at some of those as well. Talking about the cloud, it's a very good idea to have some sort of cloud storage, not just using Git, but some backup of your system on the cloud, in case something happens to your computer. You've then got everything that you need on the cloud. It won't take you very long to rebuild your system. So, for example, you'd put on all the programs that you've decided for your programming environment, and this type of thing. It would all go onto the cloud. If you have a problem, you can just download it all, install it all, then do the updates, and you're back where you were. Okay, so some sort of cloud storage is essential. Okay, now we're talking about real software. There are a number of package managers, dependency managers that are a good idea, because once you start using the various different types of software, most of them today use some sort of dependency manager or package manager, whether it's npm or composer or something like that. And so you should have the main package managers, the dependency managers, actually on your computer, and we'll look at installing those as well. Next, you're going to need an IDE, an integrated development environment. Okay. Now, again, there are lots and lots of people who are going to say, you know, this is best, or that's best, or whatever is best. Well, yes and no. Okay. As I said before, you install the one that you are most comfortable with. We're going to look at a couple of different ones, just so that you can see them, and I will also talk about a few others as well. But you go and decide which ones are best for you. Okay, and usually you'll be using a framework, not always. I sometimes use frameworks, and I sometimes actually just do it from scratch. So we will look at the frameworks and installing frameworks, and most of the frameworks are controlled by some sort of a dependency manager or package manager as well. Okay, so next, to practice on your own computer, it's a good idea to have an internet server on your own computer, and you have a number of choices here. We will look at least two different types of internet server on the computer, maybe even more actually, and what's involved. Again, these are all available for Windows, Mac, and Linux, so it doesn't matter which operating system you're using. The IDEs, the dependency management, the cloud storage, Git, the internet servers, everything that we put on are for all the different systems. Okay, next we need a database server of some sort. Again, lots of people have lots of ideas on this. Probably, say that there are so many different database servers, but they all use SQL. So or most of them use SQL. So I would recommend that we use a SQL server and that it's a relational database server. We're going to look mainly at MySQL, but there are others, and it very much depends on you as to which one you want to do. It also depends on who you're programming for, what's available, what the company uses if you're programming for a company. Programming languages themselves. For the web, you have, are they programming languages? You have 4 or 5 languages that are essential. Well, the first one is HTML, which hypertext markup language. You have to know this. It's absolutely essential. Without HTML, you are not programming for the web. HTML is something which is very easy. It's built into all the internet servers, so that's not a problem. On top of that, you're going to need CSS for styling the page, and then you're going to need something like PHP, which is a server-side language, so that you can actually query databases and that type of thing. I know you can do the same with Node.js and JavaScript, and we will also look at JavaScript and jQuery in the programming languages as well. We'll also look at things like Sass and Less. So we're going to look at the various different programming languages that are available. Again, you need to choose the one which is best for you and best for the job that you're doing. And finally, what tools do you need to help you with your IDE and this type of thing? So, for example, you're going to need some sort of FTP system to be able to transfer your data, your programs and so on onto the internet server on the internet from your normal server on your computer, that type of thing. You're going to need things like Emmet and other things like that, which are going to help with your development and that type of thing. So we'll look at what tools are available and what tools you might want to use or may not want to use. What tools come bundled with some of the IDEs, and which ones are useful and which ones might not be as useful as they seem. So that's what the course is all about. I hope you enjoy it. As I say, there's going to be quite a lot in it. And once we finish this section, we will look at the actual programming languages. So once we have the environment set up, we'll look at programming languages. My name's John. I'll see you in the next video.